Box fight's going to come through as the third-party action from afar is also pressured onto them.
They lost their opening though. That was they had the element of surprise with the crash pads. It's you can't really tell when a player is about to crash pad on top of your noggin. Go next, essentially here. Twek and Midro though, making good use of the space around them, kind of taking over this little building territory, north lockdown, but. I think more importantly still, Takata, is just we have seen a pretty good spread of talent between the way that they choose to play the high ground, the way that they choose to play the low. It's just about manifesting that consistency, and it's crazy to think that, and I could be wrong on this, but I do believe they're actually a couple of controller players.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's interesting too, Reese was even pointing out, they didn't even seem too nervous in those final moments in the end game. Taking their time to land their big hitting shots, but now with back-to-back wins, you know they've got a bit of that fire fueling them with confidence, so overstep themselves and make a risky play that ends up with them getting eliminated. But we're getting closer and closer to that end game, closer and closer to the reboots getting disabled. Once the 6th zone closed and 7th appears, it is going to be when reload is no longer active.
Prism Casper just lurking in the wings right now. No one close enough that they feel it necessary to try and go for any sort of brawl, but the moment that the zone pools, that's what we're really waiting to see, because everyone's going to start to make their rotates, and things are going to get messy, Takata, because reboots disabled. Anyone that goes down now, it is all up to your duo to try and lock things in for placement and elimination points. Midro and Twek just look so isolated though compared to the rest of the lobby from that overhead shot. Really good perspective. It's all about trying to defend kind of the spacing that you initially opt for, but Sky, Scroll, we've also got a good amount of gear to work with, plenty of mobility inside their current box.
Right. The good news about shockwaves is you can, you know, elevate yourself quite a bit if you tend or end up using them here. But what's difficult is you really just want to be able to land somewhere, but not everybody else is going to land at the same time as you when this zone starts opening up a bit more. And you also, one, don't really want to be the first one to get focused or the last one. But Darm and Demish are doing a good time recycling the builds from their opponent in front of them, making sure to kind of keep that dominant position above them, able to take shots at them as Kiro and Ping are already in.
Minori and Darko is trying to see if they can do the same. Sky, Scroll. Sky getting a little bit lit up there by Ping. Will manage to get out of dodge though without taking too much further threats here, but Scroll and Sky are just so wary right now. They're not trying to go for a immediate front side just yet. Demish and Darm just a little bit too set in their current position, but Champ and Flixie, you have to imagine that they're going to start taking notice of the high ground. Mini chop there for Darm and Demish. They won't have any issues with re-establishing though with this until Darm actually losing a fat chunk of his HP. But he knows he's been in this situation plenty of times before, but the lobby has fixated on them. They can tell that this is a duo under duress right now, and Darm, Slurp Juice will be forcibly used as Midro, Twek continue kind of just hovering around that front side low. Maybe a big opportunity for them to kind of pop up towards those high ground takes, especially with the way that Shark and Tini were causing so much chaos, constantly challenging for it.
And I'm sure it's going to happen again this time around, as nobody's fully claimed it yet. They know the danger of it in these zones, but Twek and Midro alluding to go under the bridge. They've actually conserved a good amount of mats, making sure to cut off any players behind them and even get a bit of time to refarm. But it looks like Mapi, Lucia, they are going to be the ones up above.
It's not just about taking height though, it's making sure that you can pressure enough of those lower layers to prevent them from trying to do the same to you. Don't want to afford to get chopped out. Slurpy Swamp's also just going to make it a little bit easier. I mean, the building's already being present. A little bit easier to connect to overhead as Matthew Lusher, they continue just extending upwards. Chino, Pablo, small spot of trouble here. They don't want to get cut off on this next rotate, but they might not have a choice. Chino just trying to extend to whatever space he can. There is not a whole lot of room to dart through. He knows it's only a matter of time. Shockwave's forward. Just going to try and head immediately towards that front side. Get ahead of the rest of the pack before they get stuck inside the congested layers. And that's going to be Lushy, Mappa. Just connecting. Asa maybe contemplating if he wants to challenge this, but Twag and Migro, they just drop picks straight into their box. Shark and Teeny trying to see if they can maybe overtake, but it's a complete cutoff here. Twag and Migro do an excellent job of just finding that elimination, and Teeny, it's going to come at a price here as he finds himself getting cleared out of the lobby.
Shark left alone now. Twek and Mijo still looking strong though, alongside Gino Pablo. Gonna have to shockwave through, but oh no, I spoke too soon. Mijo goes down. Twek, Shark now both playing as solos. The medkit's gonna be popped. Good news is he does have that med miss grenade. If he wants to, he can tank a bit of zone, but if he can even save it for later, it could be better. He's still got some mats to work with. No need to rush anything here.
Those heals were clearly intended for the case for Twek. They'll be forced to drop that Memphis grenade early on, but now everyone else in the vicinity, they're going to know this is a player in trouble. Whether or not they actually look to challenge it right away, that's a different conversation. Sky, Scroll, directly underneath. Twek playing from the backside of zone, though. It's only a matter of time before people realize that this is a solo player just trying to hold his own. He needs every single placement he can get, even eliminations, to continue extending their first place position on the leaderboard. But I fear it may have been too much to expect them to go for the hat trick finish here. Takada, his last medkit now being used. Prism and Casper, they're going to challenge for the high ground, but it's Prism who gets eliminated. Casper scattering, now going straight up overhead, trying to utilize that mid-miss grenade underneath him, but Lusha and Mappy have done a great job at just holding on to height. Shockwave didn't take him exactly where they wanted to go. Instead, is Lusha, he's going to be sent backwards. He's got to get forward. He doesn't have anyone. Yields the Siphon will save him temporarily, and he does manage to reconnect, but now Shark from behind, lurking in the water, just ready to strike. Mappy doesn't have any shields, but he does have his duo and Flixie overhead to boot.
Sharky, even without his teammate, going once again for height. He's not going to give it up, trying to bite down his prey. His Chap is going to be the first victim. He gets another, but unable to finish those eliminations. Flixie now playing alone up top as his teammate's gone down. He drops below, finishes off the elimination, and now has a huge refresh to continue forwards.
So greedy by Mappy to try and get off that revive. It's so tempting, though, when it's so quick inside of reloads, but Sky, Scroll, this could be the one. They are very low on their material counts, but they've managed to find an isolated position, and Minori bouncing back up and down again, but Flixie will claim another. These are huge refreshes because now Sky, Scroll, they're ready to take out Flixie, the only one left standing, and Scroll, excellent placements with the Shockwave, immediately breaking through all those pre-existing builds. Flixie held his own, though, Takada. That was an impressive finish.
I was getting a little nervous, okay? Sky and Scroll, they weren't looking too great, but the Danish Demons have done it, solidifying themselves up above. So let's head right back over to the desk so they can break that down for us.
Thank you very much. There were big expectations for Sky and Scroll going into this first qualifying final for the Reload Elite Series, and finally they have made good on that promise, Levin.
Yeah, it's good to see them announce themselves to the lobby and winning a performance that we sort of expected, right? Rich, you talked a lot about how their strategy and approach to Reload has a lot been playing on those lower layers, trying to avoid the chaos of shockwaves, and we saw them sort of close out the game there, which was just as you expected.
Well, I mean, one of the things that they always do, you know, I say they play the low ground to avoid it, but they always keep a shockwave. One of the ways they win most of the games in the opens or in their heats has just been holding on to a shockwave from that final moment just to knock out teams, take a height retake, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I love those moments at the end of the games, right, where it's all just about like trying to shock your opponents back into the storm and take them away. Look, these guys are going to continue to have games like this, right? I think as far as consistency goes, when they are in these positions, they're so comfortable. Scroll here, his form has been unbelievable this year. And so again, this is where like their comfort zone is. This is where you expect to see them thrive, and this is what you were talking about here, right? That ability to just go up towards the end. You gotta have some, right? You gotta have some. Even if you're avoiding people doing it to you, you want to make sure you have the option to do it yourself. So big first game here. Again, 2 players, many people around the world in Fortnite expecting to see competing at that final land.
And
So-
I think what's very important, sorry to cut you off.
No, it's
They were
okay.
11th before this. So not doing great, let's be honest. 11th before this should be a huge jump up for them in the leaderboard.
I'm just wondering, and I was going to jump in to just ask Reese, do we want to see these guys play it safe literally until those end games to guarantee themselves a high placement on the leaderboard?
Absolutely, that's like their bread and butter strategy. You know, the first 2 games didn't necessarily go out that well for them. That match for me is just everything I love from them as a team. It's every other match I've watched just played out yet again. It's just literally a copy and paste of their game plan. So to see it actually work out here is great.
Well, we have got quite a few people who are trying to menace the early game. We'll be talking about those naughty players after this break.
No!
I have a theory that it's going to be a great year in Fortnite for Danish duos, and luckily Sky and Scroll helped me along in my hypothesis because they did take our 3rd game of today's Reload Elite Series qualifier. But let's talk about some of the other duos in the lobby, because Twek and Nidro, they didn't manage to do the back-to-back-to-back 11.
Yeah, again, a bit of a slow roll in momentum there, but you know, you can't complain, right? They're still able to showcase some of what has made them a team that has been very impressive today, right? You see they're dropping a player down, able to get that refresh. It got a bit messy, right? They had another team looking to try and get involved, but ultimately, this is still a team I'm really excited about moving forward, Reese.
Absolutely, and one of the things I like about their strategy they're playing so far is, from what I've seen for the most part, only one of them is carrying some form of mobility, right? You saw 3 different weapons, which isn't ideal by any means in the inventory there, but a lot of times allows them to carry more whites. So you saw right at the end, he was popping a lot of medkits to keep himself alive in the storm for a lot longer, and you can do that if you're not carrying as much mobility. But look at the leaderboards. I mean, they're still standing strong on top with quite...
This is my last one.
Now, I did mention before the break some cheeky teams, and there wasn't anyone really cheekier than Flixie in this lobby. He managed to clutch that solo 2nd place, but he also had a very proactive start to his game, Reese.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, look, I actually want to say something. I'm sorry, I'm
right.
jumping in now. I'm
Okay,
jumping in
then.
now because I'm
Jump in,
furious.
jump
I'm
in.
furious. Chap and Flixie were the team I said were the obvious pick to do the best out of Slurpee. Now, of course, we're only 3 games in, but so far that is holding true. They sit in 2nd place, coming out of Slurpee. The team Reese picked has 3 points in 3 games, bottom of the leaderboard. I'm just putting that out there. I just want to say that.
Well, now I'm angry because I wanted to talk about that later on, Levin. but before, we will talk about that in more detail. But, I mean, Reese, you're really happy to see, actually, these guys taking initiative, and it certainly paid off for Flixie in the end.
Absolutely, no. We saw them up into 2nd in the leaderboard there. They are, as Levin mentioned, the kind of obvious pick to do well from that drop spot. Like, you know, top 3 is what